Good evening. It is 5:30, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Zoning Advisory Committee to order. Thank you all for joining us here this evening, and thank you to the staff at Dotson for opening their and engage with the community. So that brings us to item 1.01, which is the call to order, which I've just done. Item 1.02, the roll call.
Polly Boardman.
Present.
Shanna Coley, present. Melissa Cook-Sanford.
Present.
Kristen DeHaan.
Present.
Cami Elquist-Leray.
Single agenda item, even if it is for discussion only. If you would like to make public comment, there are green cards that are on a desk outside of the front door. You just need to fill one of those in and then bring them down to the end of our panel here and give them to our staff at the end. We also do have interpretation services available tonight, so for folks that need that in the back of the room, that would like to hear the interpretation in Spanish, that's available, and to folks that are giving public comment, as well as to the committee members, to the extent that we can just try to talk clearly and slowly, then interpretation can do their job even better. And then lastly, on roll call, I just want to remind folks, both on the committee as well as in the public, that we do have 2 open seats on ZAC right now, both for Zone G, as well as a teacher and counselor. So for folks that are interested, get the word out. Applications are open on the website for those specific spots. All right, which brings us to item 2.01, approval of the meeting minutes of October 16th, 2025, meeting of the Zoning Advisory Committee, and this is an item for action. Do we have any public comment?
We have public comment from Justin Solomini.
Just need to push the button. There's a little body. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I was not anticipating on commenting on the minutes, but there were a few things from the minutes I want to point out. But first off, to introduce myself, I'm Justin Solomini. Some of you may know me from my emails. I lived in the Smithridge area, and now I'm on Yale at a full red scholarship there. This place is special because I went to Dotson K through 6, so for 7 years. It's nice to be back. But yeah, anyways, I'll keep this quick. It's the minutes. There were a few things from the minutes at the last meeting that I do think should have some clarification, and I'd like to sort of direct similar sentiment to what an email from Kelly Roper was sent, in that I believe it was Vice Chair Board Cooley who asked if DePoli did not have enough space for Smithridge students. And district staff seemed to agree with that sentiment, but that's not true because there are 500 open seats at DePoli and 269 middle schoolers in Smithridge live in that area. A decent amount of those 200 are already at DePoli on school of choice, about 40 of them, I would think, because they only would move 200. That was the numbers from April. In addition to that, Vice Chair Cooley also asked the district if there was any high school that had just one middle school go straight from middle to high, and they didn't give an answer, so I thought I would give that out. It's Galena, and that's why we were sort of zoned out of Galena, so they could have that scenario. And Damani would have DePoli, Worcester would have Vaughn. It would be the similar situation as Galena, Marcy Harris. But that's all I have to say. I'd like to thank you all for your great work. Thanks for being here in the weather. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item?
There's no more public comment.
Very good. Any questions or discussion amongst the committee on the meeting minutes? Can we get a motion?
Polly Boardman, I move that the Zoning Advisory Committee approves the minutes from the October 16th, 2025 meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Cami Lure, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from October 16th, 2025 of the Zoning Advisory Committee. We will vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item 2.02, presentation and discussion regarding previous Zoning Advisory Committee recommendations to the Board of Trustees for the 2026-27 school year enrollment zone for the Smith Ridge Elementary School. This is an item for presentation and discussion only. And I hand it back over to staff.
Thank you, Chair Rogers. Brett will go through the presentation, and then I'll finish it up.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for your time tonight. Thank you to the public for your time and engagement with us. My name is Brett Rodella, long-range school planner with the district. We wanted to present some historical items and actions that pertain to the Smith Ridge enrollment boundary relative to middle schools that have taken place most recently as of this year through this body, through Zach, and then through the Board of Trustees. So each one of these sections pertains to 4 public meetings that occurred from January through April over the course of 3 months. Total four meetings, and under each meeting item includes some news and RGJ stories that were run pertinent to these, just to give some context as to the amount been covered through this and kind of recover the work that we all have done pertaining to the Smith Ridge enrollment boundary and its middle school. So we met as Zach in January 16th of 2025 in the WCSD boardroom, presented 2 options. Both of those options demonstrated Smith Ridge going to Vaughn. After that, Karen V ran a news story about Washoe County School District considering changes to enrollment boundaries. Additionally, the RGJ ran an opinion piece that addressed the Neal Road area, suggesting it go to Vaughn and Wooster. In February, we met at Vaughn Middle School. At that time, 3 options were presented that included Smith Ridge to Vaughn. Additionally, an attachment B was provided that demonstrated a Smith Ridge to DePoli. So the Smith Ridge to DePoli is something that is not new to this body, the public, or the Board of Trustees by this point. Moving forward, in April, we met at Pine Middle School. That meeting transpired over the course of, I think, more than 4 hours. I think this body can, for the most part, everybody that was on it can well remember, the intensity of it, the passion of it, and a lot of it pertained to the Smith Ridge enrollment boundaries desire to go to Damani Ranch. So at that meeting, 4 options were presented, 3 of which showed Smith Ridge going to Vaughn. 1 of those showed Smith Ridge going to Damani Ranch. And 1 of those options included Smith Ridge to DePoli. So it's something that we have looked at. That attachment B was included. That included the Smith Ridge to DePoli option. And at that evening, Zach voted to approve option 4A, which moved Smith Ridge to Vaughn and Damani Ranch High School. Following that, Karen V followed up with news broadcast on WCSD Zoning Advisory Committee recommending Smith Ridge students to Vaughn. Finally, 5 days later, the Board of Trustees met. They were presented with Zach's recommendation. They were provided the supplemental information, including that attachment B that demonstrated Smith Ridge to DePoli, and the board votes unanimously to send Smith Ridge to Vaughn at that meeting per the Zach recommendation. So this is all just a recap to help us reorient to the amount of work and time that's been placed and attention that's been placed into Smith Ridge and its middle school feeder. We've set lines, we've made decisions, families have made plans for what they're gonna do with their students in 9 months from now at the beginning of the 26-27 school year. And this, in a sense, summarizes why the school district's not interested in opening this back up for change at this time.
Thank you. Record, Tammy Zimmerman, Chief Facilities Management Officer. So Brett summarized a lot of it. The zoning decision was made and approved by the based off of the information that was presented last spring. There's nothing new material-wise to make that change. There's no new school, and we actually did investigate the options that had DePoli in the mix, and so the decision has been made. As Brett said too, a lot of families have made decisions, and we made that board recommendation, or you made that board recommendation and we went to the board so that families could meet that last window of school of choice and have an opportunity to do that. And actually, based off of board policy, because of there being no changes, the Zoning Advisory Committee doesn't have the authority to open that item again.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? And just a reminder, because we do have our typical staff have surgery, so using your name as a reminder will be helpful on the record to say.
Cami LeRae, for the record, I want to thank you both for giving us that background. I think it was needed based on the conversation that was had at the last meeting. And I think it's prudent for all of us to reorient to the decisions made in this way, and for everyone here to sort of hear what took place in context of the decision and how it was passed by the board. So thank you very, very much. We needed that.
Other questions or comment from the committee of staff before we take public comment on this item? All right, not seeing any green lights. Do we have any public comment on item 2.02?
Alejandro Rivera.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Rivera. I'm a junior at the Monty Ranch High School, and I live in the Smithridge community. Even though I currently live in the Smithridge area, I used to live near Anderson Elementary, and I went to Swope Middle School. When I was in 7th grade, Swope used to be only 7th and 8th grade. The following year, Swope became a 6th through 8th grade school, and I noticed Swope started overcrowding due to this change. That's why I was confused and frustrated when Huffaker was rezoned to Swope, pushing it to nearly 100% capacity. It felt like decisions were being made that didn't reflect the realities that students like me were living every day. At the Monty Ranch, I've worked super hard. During my freshman year, I was a failing student. At one point, I felt like I wasn't going anywhere in life, and with the help of the amazing staff, I managed to turn things around. And I'm not an exception. A lot of students from Smithridge have similar stories. We are resilient, we are capable, and we can thrive. My concern is that Worcester has the only IB program, and the Monty has the district's largest dual credit program. Bond is the only pre-IB middle school, while DePoli would prepare our neighborhood for the dual credit academics at the Monty Ranch. Swope and DePoli are higher income schools, while Smithridge and Vaughn are both low income schools. I feel like our community is being treated differently because of our low economic status. Fairness means giving everyone in every neighborhood with every different background the same chance. All we're asking for is equity, fairness, and the chance for Smithridge students to enter middle school on equal footing with everyone else. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Elena Alt.
Can you, sorry, can you just push the little person
Right
button?
here?
There you go.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you again. I'm a teacher at DeMonte Ranch High School. Imagine that you lived in a neighborhood that was equidistant from two different middle schools, and your child had kind of the same type of situation as our Smithridge kids, where one possibility would be for them to go to a very highly rated school that would feed right into the high school. The other possibility would be go to a different middle school that feeds into a different high school. Where would you want your child to go? Wouldn't you want them to go to the school where they could establish those friendships, build relationships, be a part of the community, and have the smoothest transition into high school? I know that there's board limitations here, but I still want to advocate for the Smithridge community. opportunity for this to be reconsidered. I really do think that the Huffaker families were treated differently than the Smithridge families, and it truly breaks my heart for that community. Thank you for your time.
Also unanimously voted to send Donner Springs to DePoli, and that is the staff recommendation, to take a good chunk of Donner Springs and give them a double rezone. So why does Donner Springs get the change? Voted to send Dotson to Vaughan, but yet option 4 is going to propose Dotson to go both into DePoli and DeMonte Ranch. So I'm very curious how those are different decisions. And they say, because, you know, it's not a new event, they don't have a new decision. This is a new elementary on the Pine campus. I would say that's a new event for every community, even the Smithridge community. I'd like to remind you on your guiding principles. Number 5, comply with feeder patterns to the extent possible. If we are constructing a new school, but we cannot consider the middle and high school boundaries, how are we following our guiding principles? There are 5 elementary schools that feed into DeMonte Ranch. 4 of them go to DePoli Middle School. Smithridge is the exception. There are 7 elementary schools that go to Vaughan. 6 of them go to Worcester. Smithridge is that additional 1. So this is sort of an isolation. And I think, you know, right now it's just 1 elementary that goes from Vaughan to DeMonte. But when Pine combines, it's not even going to be 1 elementary, because the Smithridge and Dotson kids are going to be split. So it's a portion of 1 elementary that goes to a separate high school. And there is not one example of this in the district. There's examples of 1 elementaries, like a full elementary going on, but not a portion of 1, and that's crazy isolation. So I think the only reason we're having this discussion is because we closed Pine Middle School. Pine Middle School was Smithridge's community school. It's right across the street. So to say to these kids, okay, we close your right across the street school, now we're gonna have you live across 2 split feeders, and then you come into high school as outsiders, I don't think that is right. Additionally to that, one of the reasons why Smithridge was zoned into Vaughan, it was a 5-4 vote. And Smithridge was zoned into Vaughan. So I would like to just have you thinking about that. You can draw the lines however this committee decides, frankly. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Folks, I'd like to ask just a sense of decorum in the room. Applause is not helpful and just a bit disruptive. We don't want to take sides here. The microphone is there, and you're welcome to express your passion there. So I'd encourage you to direct your energy there, please. Other public comment?
There's no more public comment.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the committee at this time before we move on and close this item? Okay, very good. That brings us to item 2.03. Got lots of words here, so I'm going to get my paper. This is presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding proposed elementary school level enrollment zone adjustments for the 2028-29 school year, potentially impacting the following schools: Roger Corbett Elementary School, Smithridge Elementary School, Edwin S. Dotson Elementary School, Hidden Valley Elementary School, Donner Springs Elementary School. Possible high school adjustments related only to students currently in the Roger Corbett Elementary School zone involving Earl Earl Wooster High School and Damani Ranch High School, and possible middle school attendance zone adjustments related only to students currently within the Donner Springs Elementary School Zone, involving Kendall DePoli Middle School and E. Otis Vaughn Middle School. And this is for possible action. Back to Brett.
Thank you, folks. Brett Rodella, long-range school planner with the district. We're going to talk about the reconstruction of the Pine campus into an elementary school. So for our outline, we're going to go over housekeeping and context. We'll go through our options presentation, and then afterwards have time for questions and discussion. Current Pine Middle School campus is going to be reconstructed into an elementary school with the original expressed intention of consolidating Smithridge and Dotson elementary schools. Smithridge and Dotson are going to be closed and repurposed, and that's effective as of board decision this Tuesday. And additionally, adjacent enrollment boundary optimization appears appropriate with these changes. A review of some administrative regulations, to begin with 5015, which pertains to our School of Choice program that supports students and families' option to apply to attend to a school of their choice outside of their enrollment boundary, and they can attend up to 90% of the school's capacity. Additionally, the Regional Transportation Commission and the Washoe County School District have a partnership where Washoe County School District students can ride for free all throughout the region. As for Admin Reg 7107, which pertains to the alignment of school attendance zones and our legacy grades, 5th, 8th, and 12th, it stipulates that at the time of these changes, during the 2028-29 school year, 8th and 12th graders impacted through this. It'll impact 5th graders to some degree, but mostly 8th and 12th. If they're rezoned, they'll have the option to stay at their zone school for that, or at their previous school to finish their final year at the school. This applies to current 2nd, 5th, and 9th graders. However, students that currently attend Smithridge and Dotson that'll be closing, they won't have that option, as they won't have the ability to attend their previously attended school. Any students from that Donner Springs area that might be rezoned will have that option. Our guidance from Admin Reg 7107, our guiding principles, remind us to keep subdivisions and small neighborhood units in the same attendance zone to the extent possible. We seek to assign students to the closest school to the extent possible. We want to create compact attendance zones with few or no island areas, include target enrollments that allow for growth and anticipated changing demographics. We want to comply with feeder patterns to the extent possible, and avoid placing transportation burdens on identifiable diversity subgroups. Our timeline for impacts to facilities through our facilities modernization plan include the elementary school at Pine receiving that reconstruction in the 2028-29 school year. Smithridge and Dotson are both closed and repurposed at that same time frame. Hidden Valley receives a modernization referred to as renovation and revitalization within the FMP in 2033-34, and Donner Springs receives the same treatment, similar treatment, in the 37-38 timeframe. A review of special programs. This is for the committee's reference, and also to kind of highlight the nature of things at Hidden Valley especially. Hidden Valley has the Deaf of Hard of Hearing program, which matriculates to Vaughn and then Wooster. And they also have a program called Pivot, which is set for students that are very sensitive to larger classroom environments. So the nature of these two programs are taking up a good amount of space. District leadership has committed to maintaining those programs at Hidden Valley as a result of their sensitive nature. And sort of the success that they've found at this campus. And with that said, last month we reviewed an option 2B, which modeled all of Dotson zoning into Hidden Valley. Over conversations over the previous month, we found that If we were to move all of Dotson into Hidden Valley, it would disrupt the nature of their special programs, that deaf and hard of hearing and pivot program. And again, it was something that our special ed department stood firm on as something that they did not want to move from. So we've respected that, and as a result have removed option 2B from the options list. As for transportation dynamics, the majority of any changes are going to receive buses. The current Smithridge enrollment boundary, which will attend the new elementary school at Pine, will maintain as a walk enrollment boundary. We've discussed that South Corbett piece in red with the likelihood of being rezoned into elementary school at Pine campus. They would receive a bus provided those students are outside of 1 mile. And then anywhere else that we're talking, that Donner Springs triangle in green, move into the elementary school at Pine or any part of Dotson, moving any which way, whether it's to the new elementary school at Pine, to Hidden Valley, or Donner Springs, will receive transportation.
Brett, sorry, while we're on that slide, Tyler Rogers for the record. So the green triangle that is south of McCarran, just to confirm.
That's correct.
It's very close to the new school that's being proposed.
Yes.
And is the expectation that there'd be a bus provided even for sort of those close folks that have to walk across because of the major road?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime we face major arterials like that, we provide transportation for elementary school. So in addition to the enrollments that we project, we see a good amount of students that come from outside the district to attend our brand new schools. This slide is meant to convey that on average over the course of the past 6 years, 4 new schools, we've seen 70 additional students to the students that we've projected for. So that equates to about 15% on average. We're putting this up as kind of a reminder that our goal internally is we want to respect this kind of trend and try to leave room for this and other dynamics in the new elementary school at Pine as we decide on a enrollment boundary.
So Brett, Tyler Rogers for the record, just to be clear, are these numbers included in your projections?
They're not included in the projections.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. This slide takes a look at students, total number of students impacted within the zones that we're looking to potentially move. There's summaries in white boxes that show students that attend out of zone and kind of the most popular schools that they're attending in. The major takeaway on this is that 161 out of 283 elementary school students attending out of zone in these areas, that amounts to 57% attending out of zone, are attending district-sponsored charter schools. So it's something that we're trying to be aware of, that the potential of a brand new school, as we've seen at our other brand new schools, are attracting more students, and we're just trying to put numbers to these to help us give some guidance to decision making there. So
Brett, is that a unique percentage? That 57%?
It's hard to say. We haven't calculated these statistics. We've looked at them for our next presentation, and it's I think 20% less than that or something. We'd have to do these type of analysis, throughout the district to give you a yes or no on that. So getting into our options, taking a look at option 1, which everybody's seen before, that Corbett piece in red, which is south of the east-west runway. We want to get into the elementary school at Pine, as Corbett is going to close and be repurposed into Loader. That piece is very disassociated and disconnected. It's east of the highway, again, south of the airport. It's contiguous with this Smith Ridge enrollment boundary. It naturally belongs with this elementary school at Pine campus. Naturally, that Smith Ridge enrollment boundary flows into the elementary school at Pine, and in this option, we're looking at all of Dotson going into that going into the elementary school at Pine. This is a look at the before and afters. I didn't point out in the previous slide that that Corbett piece in red would also affect Wooster High School's enrollment boundary, moving it from Wooster to Damani Ranch. And this is a look at the enrollment projections. As you see, Dotson and Smith Ridge are set to close. And that elementary school at Pine campus being populated at about 85% of capacity. And if you consider the additional students that we've received at brand new schools, that average being 15%, if we realize that 15%, which I think is very practical in this instance to consider as possible, we'd be at 100% of capacity at this school, which, you know, could stress its special programs out. And just, I think, make things more challenging than they need to be with the foresight that we have with these numbers and geographies. Moving on to option 3, as you can tell, this maintains as our staff recommendation. That same Corbett piece coming south, Smith Ridge flows into the elementary school at Pine. The green indicates the Donner Springs Triangle, defined by South Virginia, Longley Lane, and McCarran Boulevard, going into the elementary school at Pine, with the recommendation that it moves from DePoley Middle School to Vaughn Middle School, remaining Damani Ranch. And then as far as Dotson goes, the southern half of Dotson split at Miraloma, with north-facing southern Miraloma Drive residents moving to Hidden Valley, and again, that south going to the elementary school at Pine. Here's a look at the geographies before and after of option 3. Just to reiterate that split at Miraloma is going to include anybody with a Miraloma Drive or Miraloma Circle address going to Hidden Valley. So those are homes on the south side of Miraloma that face north going to Hidden Valley. Anyone south of them will be set to go to the elementary school at Pine.
Brett, Tyler Rogers for the record. It's a little bit hard to distinguish what is the separating line between blue and orange. You mentioned, I think, Miraloma.
Yeah, you'd be looking at the white line on the right.
Yeah. Can you expand on that a little bit?
What would you like to know more of?
Just what, it doesn't look like a singular street.
Well, it's following property lines that are addressed to Miraloma Drive. So that's the back fence of homes that face Miraloma Drive.
Okay.
Yep.
And then across Longley. Or not, I'm sorry, not Longley. Boynton? Sort of the left. You can sort of see the neighborhood. Here.
That's good. That floods into industrial and commercial space. It's, you know, that wasn't necessarily strategically drawn.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Katie Schneider, for the record. Just looking at the map, it doesn't, maybe to echo Tyler, it doesn't seem like a clean line. And is it, I mean, the number one guidance is keep subdivisions and small neighborhood units together. Is that accomplished here, or are we cutting in a neighborhood in half?
I think you can look at it a couple different ways. I think that north-facing Miraloma residences, there's a natural orientation towards Hidden Valley. Transportation corridors running, you know, down Miraloma. I don't know if that helps your.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Mostly Miraloma. And I guess, is there a way to, it seems like the difference between option 1 and 3 is 3 allows you for growth. Is there a way to maybe get more confidence in that 15%, like a survey of the families? Because it seems like that's the thing that's really driving the difference between the two, and that first one looks so clean.
Yeah, I remember, you brought that up last month, and I resonate with that. I can't help but that, but So I agree with you on the cleanliness aspect, but it's just not the only component of these dynamics that we look at in informing the best outcome. When it comes to offering a survey, you know, we're the school district seeking a resolution to this decision tonight. I don't see that happening, so.
Got it. One other maybe out of left field question. Could you also, to protect for that growth, make the new elementary school just slightly larger? Or is it too big as it?
Yeah, we come up to those quote-unquote limitations where we're designing for a school to be too big, where they have to offer multiple lunches and things like that. And when it comes to managing a student body like that, it added stress levels and things like that. Our ed specs are informed by educators as to optimal school sizes, and we're seeking to
Keep it at that.
to land on that as best as we can.
Got it. Thank you.
So a review of our enrollment numbers on option 3. Again, Dotson and Smithridge closing. Donner Springs sees relinquishing of students. Hidden Valley, an important aspect of this is that Hidden Valley is receiving reinforcements of students, which its enrollments are getting low. And just as it's difficult to operate a school with too many students, it presents different challenges for operating schools with too little enrollments. So getting enrollments into Hidden Valley is a big factor driving the school district's interest in getting part of Dotson into Hidden Valley. DePoli, slight decline. Vaughn, slight increase. And Damani with a slight increase. Worcester, a slight drop. Taking a look at option 4, it's very similar to option 3, with the difference being that in this scenario, that South Dodson Elementary School, Elementary School. And I think this is a good time. I think this is a viable option. I think what it does as far as the numbers is pretty healthy for Smithridge in terms of being able to offer special programs and things of that nature. I think the one thing that this option is a little heavy on is that the impact at the middle school and high school level is much greater in this option than option 3. And that was a big reason why we maintained with option 3 as our staff recommendation. Because that South Dodson piece coming into Donner Springs would also move the DePoli and Damani Ranch line to absorb that South Dodson piece. This is a look at the before and afters of those geographies. And the student enrollment projections here. As you can tell, in difference from option 3 is that Donner Springs maintains, even increases its enrollments. Hidden Valley gets the same anticipated reinforcement. And Pine Campus, I think, it would set itself up in a decent place in terms of student body and special programs. And then no capacity concerns at these other schools.
Camila Ray for the record. So staff recommendation is option 3, but that still puts Pine Middle School at that 15% kind of red zone, I'll call it, because if it does attract 15% more students, you're sort of still you're pushing it into the red, yes?
We'd be about 90%, which puts us into orange.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious from a staff, kind of thought process, seeing where Pine is at on this option. Could you give us sort of the pros and cons of why staff landed on 3 versus 4?
Yeah, I mean, the two major things for me were that our original narrative of getting Dotson into the new elementary school at Pine, and that's something that stemmed from, I think, the facilities modernization plan, but definitely to and from the board, and it's been a main narrative of this whole process to begin with. So that, and in addition to option 4, has a bigger impact at the middle school and high school level, which in trying to minimize those types of impacts, option 3 lands as favorable. In terms of the capacities at the school itself, educators are better than I am at being able to speak on that. I think either option is definitely going to be in a good place. And I'm going to leave it at that. Our guiding principle scorecard, subjective to our internal perspectives. With guiding principle 1 that pertains to subdivisions, that option 1 we've got as a good, option 3 and 4 we've got as neutrals, as there is an obvious split in that Dotson enrollment boundary. In terms of closeness, all of these appear good. The distance from Dotson to Hidden Valley is equidistant to the elementary school at Pine, and even closer to Donner Springs. So anywhere you go is a good place there. Compactness, we're feeling good there. I moved the guiding principle 4 for option 1 to inferior, because should we receive that 15% trend that we're seeing at new schools, it maxes out the facility. As it pertains to feeder patterns, we're good, provided secondaries move in option 3 and 4, and transportation burdens interpreted as a neutral, as we're doing the best that we can on those fronts. And to conclude, I present for you our staff recommendation. It comes with a model recommended motion if it is conducive for you. And again, we're leaning at option 3, and I'll turn it over to you folks for questions and discussion.
Thank you, Brett. Before I open up questions to the committee, I want to share a little bit more context too. I did do outreach to the principals at Hidden Valley, Dotson, and Donner Springs to try to get sort of just some additional context that I wanted to share with Zach. The principal at Hidden Valley sort of affirmed that the school is feeling fairly empty, and was supportive of the concept of taking part of Dotson into Hidden Valley. So she was sort of vocalized support for option 3, or I guess 4, but basically supporting getting some more students into Hidden Valley would be helpful for what they're trying to do. I also spoke to the principal and the PTO president at Donner Springs, who expressed an interest in options 3 or 4. They specifically wanted to highlight that currently the green triangle that is going to them there's a fair transportation burden, that the buses that are coming from that into Donner Springs are full. So just for Zach to be aware that that is a community that does rely heavily on transportation, but they wanted to just call that out. They also wanted to note sort of the future growth around Tallis Valley, so giving them optionality was something they wanted to call as well. With that, I will open it up to Zach if they have any other questions of staff before we do public comment.
Katie Schneider, one last question. Can you, do you have an example of the 15%, like a new school that we opened and we saw the growth? Just curious.
Yeah, that slide summarizes the stats on each school.
No, I mean, yeah, I see
Yeah,
now.
so
Okay,
so
cool.
that orange column indicates total number of new students that we received. And
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Polly Boardman. So the thing in option 4 that I like better than 3, just to kind of talk out loud, with Donner Springs, it's higher, and then, the elementary school at Pine is a little bit lower. And then back on option 3, the Pine is pretty high, and there's hardly any kids at Donner. But what you were just saying about the principals, they're expecting quite a bit of growth from Tallis Valley. I mean, I know those numbers are kind of projected in here, but is it safer to have more room at Donner Springs?
I think they certainly represented that they're aware of the growth. They didn't quantify if it was a ton or not, but I think they were just, they were cognizant that they wanted us to be aware of the growth that was coming in Taos Valley around them, so that we were thinking about that for the future.
Okay. Because 50% is pretty gutted, that all of a sudden Donner Springs is lower than Hidden Valley. But the other thing, you know, and Justin brings up a good point, that in option 4, if you're gonna send that one section over to Donner Springs, they go to DePoli, and everybody goes to DePoli except this one little section that goes to Vaughn. So it is a little bit of like a split feeder, you know what I mean? So it's something to think through. But I like the numbers over here, but then keeping that in mind, I think, is important as well.
Thank you. Any other questions of Brett before we open it up for public comment? Seeing none, thank you, Brett. So we'll open up public comment on item 2.03.
Shannon Ramachadi.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Ramachadi, and I am the proud principal at Dodson. Over the past few weeks, we've been working to gather meaningful feedback from our families so we can make informed decisions that reflect the needs and priorities of our community. As part of that effort, we sent out a survey asking our families to choose from the zoning options that were available, which included full zoning to Hidden Valley. The results were clear. The majority of families who responded expressed that they want their child to attend Hidden Valley. That preference in many ways speaks volumes. What we are hearing from our families is that staying rooted in this part of town matters. It tells us that proximity, community, connection, and stability are highly valued. It's also important to recognize what the survey results did not show. Even with the possibility of a new school on the horizon, a school that will offer updated facilities and modern features, that option did not outweigh the desire to stay near this community. The idea of a new building alone is not what motivates our families. Instead, their motivation comes from community, relationships, and a sense of belonging. This feedback was powerful. It reminds us that a school is more than its infrastructure. It is the community within it, the relationships built over time, and the sense of safety and familiarity that families rely on when making decisions about their child's education. My goal is to advocate for what our families have consistently expressed. They value this neighborhood and want to remain connected to this community. Aligning our zoning with Hidden Valley and Donner Springs reflects and respects those priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie Latin.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Latin, and I am one of the deans at Dodson. I began my career at Dodson in 2006, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of serving this community in several roles ever since. As you know, this process has unfolded during an already difficult time for our families. The closing of our school has brought a lot of grief, uncertainty, and change. That's why tonight matters. Our families need clarity so they can begin making decisions for their children, whether that means preparing for a new school or applying to a school of choice. Delaying a decision any longer keeps them in a place of limbo at a moment when they are already navigating so much. I also want to reiterate the data that Ms. Ramachadi shared from our community survey. One of the strongest themes was the concern around distance and keeping our community together. Families consistently expressed that Pine feels significantly farther than Hidden Valley. On paper, the mileage might look similar, but in daily life, it does not feel that way. There's an entire airport between our neighborhood and Pine, and families feel that separation. Families measure that in time, in daily traffic patterns, and in the sense of being routed away from their own community. For these reasons, option 4 aligns most closely with what our families have voiced, a desire for school assignments that feel geographically connected, safe, and reasonable for their children. This option also contributes to enrollment at Hidden Valley, which has seen declining enrollment with no projected growth. Sending a portion of Dodson's students there bolsters class sizes in a way that strengthens instructional collaboration. It is very challenging for a teacher to engage in true planning and problem solving with their team when they are the entire team. When you are the only fourth grade teacher, the collaborative conversations students benefit from simply aren't possible. Option 4 helps ensure that teachers have partners, ideas can be shared, and students ultimately gain from stronger, more connected grade level teams. I respectfully urge you to make a decision tonight. Our families are ready for clarity, and after everything they've already had to process, they truly believe it. Thank you for everything. I know this is not an easy place to be, so thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Schwartz.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Swartz, and I have had the privilege of teaching kindergarten at Dodson Elementary for the past 20 years. Dodson is more than just my workplace. It is my home. It is a family, and that feeling of family extends to every corner in our community. Because of that, I believe it would be sad to split our community and disperse our families across different sites that are so far apart. Our families celebrate together, support one another, and step in to help with everyday needs like pickups and drop-offs. Many of our families are multi-generational. Parents who attended Dodson now bring their own children here. We have many extended families where cousins across multiple households all attend our school. This is not just a population of students, it is a web of relationships that have grown and strengthened over decades. A huge part of this family feeling comes from our 10+ years of participation in the Washoe County School District's home visit program. I have personally taken part in this since the beginning, completing anywhere from 50 to over 60 home visits every year. I have worked with families where as many as 11 children within that same larger family have come through my kindergarten classroom. I have been welcomed into homes year after year. I have been invited to birthday parties for younger siblings who aren't even in school yet, and even a grandfather's 90th birthday celebration. These families are a part of my life, and I am a part of theirs. That connection is irreplaceable. This is why the possibility of dividing our community so far away feels heartbreaking. I truly hoped that you would consider relocating the Dodson community to Hidden Valley Elementary, where we could have continued to be part of a cohesive, larger community. But I also want to acknowledge that the most recent information we have seen at Dodson earlier states that us moving the entire Dodson community to Hidden Valley may no longer be an option. With that understanding, I want to express that our next best hope would be to keep our families within our broader community by being placed between Hidden Valley Elementary and Donner Springs Elementary, which is option 4. Both of these schools are still deeply connected to our neighborhoods that we serve. They are accessible, familiar, and a part of the fabric of our community. In contrast, being reassigned to the school at Pine Middle School site would place a significant physical distance between our families, separated by not only the businesses along Longley, but also the airport itself. For a community as tightly knit as ours, that separation matters. While the school at the Pine Middle School site might be new and exciting in many ways, it feels distant and disconnected from the families that we serve. For those of us who have invested 10, 15, 20+ years into these relationships.
Excuse me, your time's up. Sorry.
Thank you.
Justin Solomine.
Hi guys, I find it absolutely hilarious that one of the driving reasons why Smithridge was zoned to Vaughan and not to Poley was because Dodson was coming over to Pine, and yet they don't even want to come to our local middle school. I find that hilarious, but I have a huge problem with how this agenda was written, because if you compare this agenda to past zoning advisory meeting agendas, this one's a lot more meticulous and detailed and deliberate, and it didn't used to be like that before. And I think it's very clear and apparent that whoever wrote this agenda wanted to push their own agenda onto you and force you into a vote tonight, because they want to vote tonight. But, you know, I've been talking a lot about transparency. I think we need to press pause and delay it one more time. And that's not going to slow progress, but it's going to gain transparency back into this process, which I think has been lost. Frankly, I think this is a Nevada open meeting law violation because this agenda language clearly states possible high school adjustments related only to students currently in the Roger Corbett zone, and possible middle school adjustments only related to students currently within the Donner Springs zone. Yet option 4 is changing those for Dodson. And to your chief counsel, I don't understand how the Nevada meeting law allows for that. And I have another question to your chief counsel. In the September meeting, Zach voted to change the zoning line for Desert Skies Middle School. But Desert Skies Middle School was not on the September agenda. So I'm curious, how did the Nevada open meeting law allow for that to happen with Desert Skies' boundary being changed when it wasn't even listed on that agenda? And this one, Dodson's not even listed on this agenda. And I guess I'm not trying to like be blamey or like nitpicky, but you know, this is a transparency issue and a communication issue. And you know, I think if we're going to do something, we should at least do it via the legal channels and properly notify our communities who may have not gotten this or been improperly notified. Frankly, as you know, it is a violation of the OML to take any action on any item for which the public has not been properly notified. I think we need to press pause and then rewrite this agenda, not so that it's meticulous, but that includes possibility for all schools to be discussed, even Smithridge to DePauli. In the April meeting, district staff said had this current configuration been selected, there was a possibility Smithridge could face a double rezone, either into Worcester or DePauli, but yet now they're saying they can't. So frankly, I have a lot of concerns right now about the Nevada open meeting law and transparency, and the fact that I'm concerned that we already broke it with Desert Skies, not just in the September meeting, but also in the August meeting. That's potentially 3 out of the past 4 meetings where we have not had proper notice. So I'm curious right now, how does option 4 comply with the Nevada meeting law when it clearly states, and as you know, you cannot discuss any option that's not specifically with this agenda. Frankly, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jesus Alvarez.
Good afternoon. I attended Mariposa Academy, Pine Middle School, Damani. I'm a math teacher at Damani, and I'm also a Hispanic member who lives in the impacted area of Neal Road. As a former alumni to all these schools, I hope that all students experience the same educational highs I did, but I also hope that other Hispanic learners do not experience some of the challenges and realities that come from our ethnicity. Not all experiences and backgrounds are the same, but I do think it's important for the committee to hear and understand that we, the Hispanic community, regularly face hardships and assume stereotypes by others around us that result in learned helplessness. And these hard truths leave lasting impressions on these kids. I had amazing teachers throughout my education that supported me and allowed me to reach levels of success I did not believe I could reach. However, there were also other teachers that challenged me. It was the first day of middle school at Pine when my teacher instructed something weird. She said, "Raise your hand if you are Mexican and keep it up." About 95% of us raised our hands confidently. She grinned and began. "Statistics show that because you are Mexican, you will not go to college." We stiffened up. She continued, "Furthermore, statistics also show that your parents probably didn't go to college, nonetheless finish high school, so why would you?" We already knew this, but no one had ever said it to us before. We thought it was a secret, but it turns out that it was almost assumed because we were Hispanic. As a result, we never raised our hands in class, and we remained silent in her class. Statistically, she was correct. This made me furious to the point I wanted to change this and prove her wrong. I cannot say my peers responded in the same way. In a way, it almost felt as if our story was written because we were Hispanic, almost as if she wanted us to feed into the dropout rate. All students are easily influenced, but this specific community faces challenges on a regular basis that other communities do not have to worry about, and that makes us more vulnerable. Not all teachers are created equal, and not all students are naturally given the same opportunities for success. But the committee could definitely help by zoning with transportation to a school that will prepare them for their success. I ask that the committee be consistent with their decisions and allow the Smithridge families to attend DePauli, as this school vertically articulates with us at Damani. So that these students do not feel like outsiders or that their stories are already written. My community does not deserve to be uninformed nor told what will happen next school year, but does deserve to be informed, well communicated with, and granted opportunities for academic success. This begins at DePauli. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Elena Alt.
Hi again. I'm in strong support that when families communicate a desire, that we should really pay attention to it, both for the families here tonight And for the Smithridge families, many of them are not here tonight, likely due to transportation issues. I think we have a precedent here where both options 3 and 4 are considering Donner Springs moving from DePaul to Vaughn, which goes against what the board already approved for the zoning based on last April's meeting. So we have a precedent that we're willing to consider something different. I think we should consider that precedent when we have families specifically requesting it, which we do. We saw that at Smithridge. We've seen the PTA president come and speak to us. I think it's very, very important that we have consistency. I still go back yet again, beating that dead horse of the Huffaker families moving to Swope, which had 91% capacity. Smithridge, there has been no option in the recent conversations for this to be a consideration. And I think if we're willing to say, hey, we're going to move Donner Springs, we're going to move Dodson, we're going to reconsider new changes for their middle school, and those go against what we voted on last April, what our school board approved, then I think we should also then be in consideration for Smithridge as well. This is a vulnerable community. I think we should try to have the most streamlined approach to their education as possible. And I think if they are able to go with the group of peers that they're going to have high school with, and they can go to DePaul, which is more aligned to Damani, I just think that we're going to be able to support those kids, and they deserve the support, and they need the support. And there are other communities that need support too, but I just think we should really be listening to the families. So I think it might be important to delay a vote so that we can consider options that more align with family values and community values. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany Castillo.
Hi, so I am a parent here at Dodson. I am also a staff member, and after looking at the options, we decided we would love option 4. It gives both Dodson and Dodson and Donner Springs the community we still have here at Dodson. I've been here, my family has been here for 22 years, so giving us the option to not have to go to a new school, because we don't really want a new school. It's not about fancy things, it's not about big schools, it's about community and family. And having all of us push to a school that's fancy and at overcapacity is not what we want. We love walking the halls and having teachers know our kids and our brothers and our sisters that have been here before. That's what we want, a community, and giving option 4 is going to give us those communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay Harris.
You're here, but I'm telling you, this community grasps you. I have fallen in love with it, the kids, the families, all of that. Obviously, we would love to keep our Dodson family together and move to Hidden Valley. With me being a special ed teacher, I totally understand that there are things that cause it to where we can't do that. But option 4 is the best way to keep our families and our communities close and together. You split us right in half, which is already heartbreaking. But then if you send half of us to Hidden Valley and half of us to Donner Springs, then we still get that small-knit school community, and that's what's important. The classrooms where the teacher knows everything about every student and knows how they learn, knows how to help them. My son goes here, and I don't want my son to go to a school where there's 32 kids in a classroom or 25 kids in a classroom. I like when it's 18 to 22, when you get to really have that community with your teacher and love that. We do Big Grizzly, Little Grizzly here, where every Grizzly has an adult that they can come to and be with and know, and like we know their problems, we know their happiness, like everything. And I just think that if you're already going to cut us in half, you should at least give us the option to continue to have that heart-filled community. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no more in-person comment, but the committee received email public comment from Erica Valsecchi, Jennifer Willem, Elena Alt, Aki Ka, Michelle O'Connell, Madison Prague, Amber Brown, and Stephanie Monson.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you to those that participated in public comment. This only works well if we can hear the voices of the community, so thank you. At this point, we'll open it up for deliberation amongst the committee based on all the information that we have heard on item 2.03. If anyone would like to start.
Camille Ray for the record. I'd like to thank the Dotson principal, the Dotson dean, the Dotson teacher, all you all that spoke and specifically surveyed your community. I think that's super helpful for us. I hear you loud and clear about the airport being sort of like the boundary that it is. And yeah, and I think that it's reassuring to know that Hidden Valley would be able to like encourage some more students. So thanks so much for that. And I really am in support of option 4 as well. And that's partially because of the work the groundwork that you've laid and the reasoning you gave here tonight. So thank you.
Anyone else want to open it up or feedback on option 4 that was sort of expressed an interest?
Kristen DeHaan for the record. Again, listening to the families and the community of Dodson, option 4 does sound like a good idea. So I would be in support of that.
One concern I have on option 4 is the impact on Worcester. I think of the options, it continues because a portion of the Dodson community would be zoned south into Damani and DePoli. Worcester will continue to be impacted. And I think like we've heard from that community from previous zoning committees, the importance of sort of that community not getting hollowed out. So it's one thing that I'm considering and just thinking about. Of the impact of option 3 versus option 4 on Worcester.
Polly Boardman, Tyler, can you clarify, because on option 3, it doesn't mention Worcester for South Dodson? It doesn't say anything about the high school actually in here. So where I see Corbett from Worcester to Damani, I guess my assumption was all these schools were ending up at Damani in option 3.
I think if we can go to the map on option 3, which is page, I think, 16. And maybe, thank you, Brett, for stepping up. Yeah, maybe the comparison would be helpful. Go, not the recommendation. Yes, that one. Brett, can you help orient us to?
Yeah, Brett Rodella for the record. The black line indicates the delineation between Worcester and Damani Ranch High School. I know in that right map, Dodson kind of disappears, but anything north of that line goes to Worcester. So there's no proposed change at the high school level in option 3, with exception to that South Corbett piece moving from Worcester to Damani Ranch.
I think it's hard to see on the map because the black's underneath the pink. So
Yeah,
what's
that's
represented
correct.
here is basically everything north of the pink line is going into Worcester in option 3.
Well,
I think a better way to put it would be, yeah, Corbett would be switching from Worcester to DeMonte.
South
Yeah.
Corbett is.
South Corbett.
Well,
And that's the only
Corbett-
change at the secondary, at the high school level,
But the Worcester numbers on both these charts are kind of in the same range. I mean, I don't have my glasses, so I can't totally see, but they're both like 40-something. Yeah. Okay. so it's
Yeah,
small.
you're right. It is,
Sorry,
it
I
is a
can't see
small
much.
difference. Both of them.
Melissa Cook for the record. Also, just along that same line, if we're looking at that little tiny Corbett and it affecting, we're talking about 30 kids, 34 kids. So that's such a small portion in comparison to these other areas that we're looking at and the impact that it's going to have. And the Worcester numbers they hover in all of these options anywhere from 43 to tops 49%. So we're still very low population-wise in Worcester, regardless of what option we go to.
Tyler Rogers for the record. I think we've talked a little bit about Tallis. I'll bring it up again. With Donner Springs, I think in either option 3 or 4, there is still room for growth. I mean, as we've talked about historically, these charts are staying cool, but I think that should be something that we consider as part of that is planning for that future growth, because I think that's a consistent thing that Zach has done. So option 3 and 4, I think, are adequate in that regard.
Shannon Coley for the record. I have a problem moving anyone into Donner Springs and taking away kids from Donner Springs to go to Pine. That doesn't make sense to me. Is that if we're talking about the green triangle in option 4 and 3, I guess. It's 4 really, where the green triangle currently goes to Donner Springs, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then we're doing a circle of putting some of Dodson kids and taking away, it just seems like a circle. Why wouldn't we just keep the triangle there and move all of Dodson to Pine?
Polly Boardman, Shannon, to me, it looks like what the parents are talking about from Dodson is they're near that Donner Springs. And I would think the same from Green Triangle, that they're closer to Smithridge. You've got this huge mass between them and the school. So it's sort of saying geographically, these are closer to each other.
I understand geographically, but if that's the history of it, I mean, I think we have to take that into consideration too. They go to Donner Springs. I haven't seen anybody from Donner Springs say in that green area that they want to stay there. I'm just, historically, I just feel like we're moving people around. Okay.
Yeah, Cami Lorray for the record. I think that much like a river would separate, different communities and different cities, the airport and the industrial center, there is a inverted triangle effect there. And I think what we're hearing from Dodson is in full recognition of that as a cultural, a social barrier, getting those people over into Pine, that would have them hopping over their normal neighborhood patterns. So even though we have these lines and we have these shadings, I think that it's important to recognize this sort of inverted pyramid or triangle that the airport and the industrial buildings take up in this map.
Tyler Rogers, for the record, I tend to agree, and I think that a consistent theme with Zach has been proximity and the ability to be physically close to your school and these sort of neighborhood boundaries, and the airport to me does feel like one of those.
Melissa Cook for the record. Question of Brett. Sorry, I know you just got up. We talked about the district-sponsored charters and how that will affect. Are there any private schools and or private charters that are affecting these numbers?
The slide that outlines additional students to new schools, that includes students from undetermined schools, which includes state-sponsored charters, private school, and homeschool. Really, anything from outside the district that we don't have information on. Does that answer your question? Okay. Let me extrapolate a little more and just say that those numbers are not incorporated into our projections. Like, we've analyzed that, and as a district trend, see on average 70 additional students to what we project, or 15%.
Cami LeRae for the record. I'd just like to add one more thing, and I don't know if it's in the purview of this committee or not, but with regards to the cost and the upkeep of facilities in general and having Hidden Valley be more productive as a facility and everything that comes around with pupil funding, I think that's a really important thing that we have to take into consideration as we make these decisions, even if we don't have that data and, brought to us in that way. The finances are real, budgets are real, so I think that has to be put into consideration as well.
Any other deliberation from the committee, or is anyone feeling moved? I think this is a topic that we have discussed and reviewed for 3 meetings now, and I think that, as we have heard, and I think that the more certainty that we give the community so they can take action, I think is important.
Melissa Cook for the record, just a comment. I know that some of the public comment has asked that we delay a vote. I'm not sure that there's other more viable options, that I don't know that delaying a vote, although I understand their reasoning, I'm not sure that that's going to matter whether we take the vote tonight or we do it later. We're kind of in a position with what we know is happening and what information we've been provided, and I think with more, the sooner we can make a decision, the sooner it does allow families to start to plan and start to look at their school of choice options for their children as these things are changing.
I echo that, and I think we've gotten clear direction from the board and staff of sort of what we can consider.
Kristen DeHaan, for the record, just thinking about that 15% that it would be going to Pine, that would be with, if I've done my math right, and I'm not a math teacher, so correct me with no problem. With option 3, that 28-29 year, it would be at 89%, and it would be 81% with option 4. So it seems like there's still room, and those students wouldn't be going necessarily to the other schools. So it wouldn't be extra hot.
I have one question about 4. So we're splitting up Dodson, one section to go to Hidden Valley, and they would end up at Worcester. Correct? Worcester? And the other ones go to Donner Springs that would go to DePoli. So we are splitting them up for junior high. Dodson would be split up. So just so you know that this community will be in different middle schools. I understand you want to be in the same elementary schools, but if we do this, you are going to be in different middle schools and different high schools. Yeah.
That is accurate of what option 4 represents. There's also
I
still.
just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah, it's important. We have to have that clarity. And school of choice is obviously still available to anyone in the district.
I just wanted to do a quick note about the Huffaker and the SWOPE issue. And from what I understand, I'm going to say the word again, historically, I heard from the board that there was a history that Huffaker, since its opening, had gone to Reno High. That was the huge consideration in why Huffaker went to SWOPE and to Reno, instead of sending all the kids to Marcy Hertz and Galena. So there was a historical precedent there that they followed, just so you're aware. It wasn't anything really new.
Katie Schneider, sorry to keep, the blue in option 4, the Dodson, the North Dodson, where do they go today for middle and high school?
Vaughn and Worcester.
Fawn and Worcester. Okay, so we're not, it won't change.
That,
if you
that
move it.
portion would not.
Okay,
It's the orange that would change
okay, thank
for
you.
middle and high school.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion. I, Tyler Rogers, move that the Zoning Advisory Committee recommends option 4 as presented, effective for the 2028-29 school year, to the Board of Trustees for possible approval.
Second, Shanna Coley.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do I have to take any more discussion? Cool. All right. So with that, we will vote. All those in favor of the motion as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion passes with, thank you. That concludes item 2.03. Moving on to item 2.04. Presentation and discussion regarding the proposed elementary school level enrollment zone adjustments for the 2027-28 school year, potentially impacting the following schools: Roger Corbett Elementary School, Libby Booth Elementary School, Echo Loader Elementary School, and Veterans Memorial Elementary School. This is for presentation and discussion only. Back over to Brett.
Thank you, folks. Brett Rodella, long-range school planner with the district. We're going to talk about a new elementary school that's going to be constructed on the current Loader Elementary School campus, as well as a Booth Elementary School modernization. So we'll go over some housekeeping and context items. We'll talk about the geography and look at the options presentation, and then we'll go over questions and discussion. So our topic purpose includes Loader being reconstructed as mentioned. That will go into effect in the fall of 2027. Attended school. A review of our guidance, our guiding principles to keep subdivisions and small neighborhood units together. Timeline for impacts to facilities through our FMP are all the same, occurring in the 2027-28 school year, where Loader receives that reconstruction on site and Booth receives a modernization, whereas Corbett and Veterans will be closed and repurposed. Look at our special programs occurring through these schools. There's heavy consideration to utilize Veterans and or Corbett to relocate some pre-K. In addition to that, any program consolidations that need to be made as kids move, those program movements will move with the kids based on needs. And we're going to explore this over the next couple sessions. But it's here for your reference should you have any questions or discussion on this. As for transportation, quick review, this is color-coded. Right now, we're looking at the North Veterans section in orange being moved to Booth, North Corbett in green moving to Booth. Most of North Veterans would become a walking zone to Booth, with exception to a southwest corner. I think there's 11 kids identified by transportation that would become transported. Everybody else would receive a bus. We're crossing Vassar to go north and Plum to go south to Loader. So students crossing any of those sections would receive buses. This is a look at number of students impacted. It also outlines total number of students that attend out of zone and details as to kind of the trends on those. For your reference, the first number pertains to students attending their zone school, and the second number is total students in that zone in K through 5. As we pointed out in the previous presentation, 53 out of 151 students attending out of zone in this area, amounts to 35%, attend current district-sponsored charter schools. So I think the same thing is at play when it comes to this reconstruction and modernization. The expectation to receive students from new students, from district-sponsored charters and outside of them is real. We'll look at numbers next month, or in January rather. I don't think we're going to face the same concerns in terms of maxing out enrollments at either of these schools as a result of those things, but we'll look at the numbers to be sure. Taking a look at the geography in our one option tonight, our macro geographical scope includes 4 elementary school boundaries, most of which is occurring south of I-80. All is east of Virginia Street. All is inside McCarran to the north and east of McCarran. And it includes Wells Avenue, Glendale Industrial, west and parts of the airport, and it's bisected virtually down the middle by I-580, Highway 395. This infographic has been inserted for just aiding in the context of kind of the whys and providing more information as to what the school district strategy is and things of that nature. It's for the committee's review and the public's review, just to, again, help contextualize what we're trying to achieve with this new construction and the modernization and expansion, as well as the impacts to these closing schools.
Kristen DeHaan for the record. So Echo Loader, is that going to be a 3-story school? Or is that I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Tammy Zimmerman, Chief Facilities Management Officer. Echo Loader is currently designed and out to bid for a 2-story school.
Rodella picking it back up. This is just a kind of overview of, as we started exploring these enrollment boundaries, Vassar Street and Plum Lane really stood out to us as defining delineations, running east-west across the entirety of both kind of sections of enrollment boundaries we're looking at. We could get artsy and dive into neighborhoods and things of that nature, but these two arterials are really logical when it comes to where lines practically should be drawn. So we're leading with this as our analysis unfolds, and pointing out that the action that you just took on option 4 pertaining to the elementary school at Pine, it includes this South Corbett piece to elementary school at Pine. Your decision on this item is going to override the decision you made on that South Corbett piece to Pine, because this goes into effect the year before the elementary school at Pine opens. Just putting that on the table for you, that change is going to occur with these changes in 2027, placing these families, these students into current Smithridge, as well as rezoning them into Damonte Ranch.
Kristen DeHaan for the record. So why didn't we know that before?
We didn't catch it. So a review of, or just a look at what our option one looks like. Again, splitting these enrollment boundaries at the Vassar and Plum Lane, we have a North Veterans and a South Veterans enrollment boundary that are indicated in orange and red. And then we have a North, Central, and South Corbett in green, purple, and blue. And then that additional South Corbett piece we expect to go to Smithridge in yellow. This is a before and after of that change. That line running east-west in the second map is on Vassar Street. So it's taking 4 enrollment boundaries down to 2. And our internal subjective guiding principle scorecard looks at GP1 subdivisions. Everything across the board is as good, with exception to transportation as neutral. And with that, we'll open it to questions and discussion.
Any questions of staff on this option so far? Not seeing any. I think we're going to still process this one. At this point, we'll take some public comment on this item, since we will maintain consistent. We said we take public comment on every agenda item. So are there any public comments on 2.04?
There's no public comment on this item.
Okay. Then I think we can close this item out unless there's anyone else that has anything, which I'm not seeing any green lights. Okay. Very well. That brings us to closing items. 3.01 for public comment.
Justin Solomone.
Hi guys, one more time, thank you. I don't like coming up here a lot, but yeah, I know we want to get ready for the night, but I just think that this, and I know you're forced into a box, but I just think it was very harsh that the Smithridge community, despite being zoned to Damonte Ranch for 20 years, was denied to go to DePoli. For 20 years, they've been zoned to Damonte Ranch and Galena, and yet Dotson, which had never been zoned to Damonte Ranch, gets to go to DePoli and Damonte. And we made the entire decision in April knowing that Dotson would have come to this elementary school, and we send 0 Dotson kids there. And in fact, we send the Donner Springs Green Triangle, which had been zoned to DePoli, into Vaughn. And I'm echoing what I'm hearing out in the community who say that this is not right. It's like some sort of segregation. That Green Triangle's the poorest part, the lowest income part of DePoli by far. The wealthiest parts of Vaughn and Wooster are Hidden Valley and Dodson, and we just shifted them to DePoli. We're putting more high-need kids into Vaughn. We're splitting the community. We given those Green Triangle families a double rezone because they were just put into DePoli. We put them into Vaughn. I understand you guys were tough. I would like to thank you all in the February meeting for at least requesting Smithridge to go to DePoli. But yeah, I guess this was the option that had to be chosen. Delaying it wouldn't have done anything, even though we did break the Nevada meeting law because it says Dodson wouldn't have been impacted at middle and high school. But I don't know. It's what they wanted. I guess sort of a good point to end on is at least all of the Pine campus will be going to Damonte Ranch, and they won't be split between Wooster and Damonte. So at least we have a split feeder where at least all of the kids from that one elementary school end up in the same high school. We just get a lot of kids packing into the Monte. We're going to spend they want to spend $200 million to rebuild Worcester High School when they have 700 students. Vaughan can hold 1,200, and I'm just concerned that because Smithridge goes to Vaughan, that you're just going to wipe us away from Damani when they do rebuild Worcester, despite our 30-year history and despite the district's going to say, hey, we built this $200 million building, we need to fill it. So it's something forward, but yeah, thank you so much for your service. I'm happy. It's my birthday tonight. I flew out. It was Thanksgiving, but yeah, I'd like to thank you. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, so thank you.
Thank you and happy birthday.
That's all the public comment.
Very good. Thank you all for a productive meeting and investment of time across the committee. That will bring us to 3.02, the announcement of our next meeting, which will be in the new year, January 15th, 2026. So stay tuned. Happy holidays to all, and we'll see you in the new year. Thank you. And we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:06. Get home safe.